News Radio 840 WHAS. Good Sunday morning. Bob Sokoler, Louisville Real Estate Show with you till the top of the hour. Hope you're having a good Sunday morning with us. Some great people who I really love working with on the radio and in person. We've got Chuck Crosby, who is the owner of the Crosby Law Offices. He does a great job on a variety of things, including getting loans closed. He also does wills. And as he says, if he doesn't do it, he knows somebody who does do it. Chuck, good to have you here. Also, Randy Rocky, Swan Financial, joining us. He's on the road, and certainly he can do this job. He can not only be a loan officer, but he can do radio anywhere in the world. So he is joining us from his car today. Good to see you, Randy.
Good morning, Bob.
Good morning. My son, Greg, who does our marketing, our photography, and so much more, and he's joining us as well. Good to see you there, son, Greg.
Per usual.
And then you can reach me, Bob Sokoler, anytime. We're helping lots of people to list, sell, and buy homes. You can reach me on my cell phone at 376-5483. If you'd like to see a rebroadcast of this show when you get a moment to see what it looks like from our Zoom position, call or just go to LouisvilleAnswers.com. That's LouisvilleAnswers.com. So some interesting things in the news, folks. I'm going to ask for your comments. This first one, and Randy and Chuck and Greg, feel free to jump in. According to a new Wall Street Journal report, the supply chain backups for materials continue to hit new home markets and causing some owners to move into unfurnished homes. Again, let me score that underline, forcing them to move into unfurnished homes.
Oh, I've got it for you.
Yeah.
Not just unfurnished, new construction. They're having such a backlog on appliances. They're doing loaner appliances. They're old. You'll see a brand new home.
Yeah.
And I know a couple big name shows in town who are doing this, and they're giving loaner appliances, waiting for the back order to come in, and then swapping them out. So
yeah,
and that's from a while ago. That's months ago.
So that's where I'm going. So the problems, for example, shortages in windows, garage doors, appliances, and paint. And in fact, 90% of all home builders around the country surveyed in November of last year said they were experiencing supply disruptions. So where I wanted to go first, Randy, can you even close on a loan as a mortgage company if all the appliances and everything is not in as promised by a new construction builder?
The appliances would not be a problem, but if the cabinets are not in, countertops or it's not a functioning sink, et cetera, like that, no, we cannot.
See, that's the problem. And Chuck, you got
to have the certificate of occupancy. Physically.
Right.
That's the big.
That's right.
So, Chuck, have you had to write any addendums in closing that survive the closing that the builder agrees to put this in or swap out once the items come in?
Every now and again, you have to do that, but I haven't seen one based on a supply chain issue yet.
Okay. All right. Moving on. Home ownership continues to prove it can pay off in the long term. It's the largest source of wealth among most families, and it's been paying back more lately. And you may have heard us talk about this in past years. The new thing, the little caveat here is a homeowner who purchased a single-family existing home 10 years ago would have gained, get this, $225,000 in equity if they sold at the median sales price of $363,100 in the third quarter of 2021. That's according to a National Association of Realtors research. So what it basically comes down to is if you bought a home 10 years ago, they would gain $225,000 in home equity.
I think that's with the grain of salt. I think it's a little puffed because if you look in the luxury market, there used to be 11 plus month inventory. Now there's less than one in a lot of places, especially here locally. So you take that extrapolation of those big inflations from the luxury properties, because you can inflate value on those a lot more with grand kitchen renovations and bathrooms and master house. You can do a lot of stuff where the appraiser can come in and find perceived value. But in the $300,000 price point here locally, even if you got some, you're not going to necessarily make $225,000 from 10 years. You may make 100. But I think, like I'm saying, that number is inflated with all the other inventory.
It's very possible. Very possible. Moving on. So, Chuck, Greg, Randy, you're going to redesign your kitchen. I know, Randy, you're in the middle of a redesign in a house, and I know, Chuck, you just bought the condo a couple of years ago. Greg, you bought. So what are the key things if you were going to renovate your kitchen now? We looked at a trend study that's coming into play. 2,400 homeowners were surveyed. So get a load of this. The number one thing that homeowners who are renovating or who have renovated are splurging on are countertops. And now, more than ever, they're going with quartz, engineered quartz and granite as the most popular. Engineered quartz, 42% of the people surveyed would go with, and on the granite, 24%. So I thought that was kind of interesting that we're seeing
Mica is a thing of the past.
Yeah, sure.
But actually, I will say there are some really amazing new Formica products that look very similar to the quartz look. If you can't, there's a lot of new stuff out there.
Other trends: supersized kitchen islands. Vinyl flooring is growing in choice, and it continues to grow.
Specific LVP. It's a luxury vinyl flooring, and it, again, kind of like the Formica, there are some unbelievable products that look exactly like manufactured hardwood or the like.
And by the way, hardwood flooring, though, leads flooring materials in kitchens. And so also top color choices for cabinets, white, and then followed by gray. So white is still the number one, and then followed by gray. And then high-tech appliances. There's another area where homeowners are willing to splurge if they're planning on renovating or buying or putting in a new kitchen. All right, so finally, Randy, Chuck, and Greg, I would like to get your impressions of what would you pay. You ready? Yep. What would you pay for a home that sits on 3.8 acres, features 21 bedrooms, 42 bathrooms, built on a leveled mountain? It has a view of the Pacific Ocean, downtown Los Angeles, and the San Gabriel Mountains. It has 7 water features, including a massive moat that runs around the property. It has a nightclub, a full-service beauty salon, a wellness spa, a home theater that seats 40, a bowling alley, a 10,000-bottle wine cellar, 30-car garage, and 400-foot private outdoor running track. What would you pay, guys? Note, if it doesn't sell quickly, it's going to head to auction in February, and it will go to the highest bidder. So maybe we can pick it up for a quick buck or so. You never know.
A quick $200 million instead of $295.
We're in our COVID show, which means we ask for you to send emails to us. Those emails then turn into questions that I read to our team. You can send me an email, bob@WeSellLouisville.com. Put radio question in the subject line, and then send in, if you would, the body of the email, the question itself. And this starts off for Randy. William, very worried about interest rates going up next few months, as many people are. Randy, he says he sent us an email asking us what should he do now to lock into the current interest rate if he's not going to buy a home until April when his lease on his apartment is up. Randy, any suggestions?
Yes, NMLS number 26362, and we rates have moved about 3/8 of a point. So a government loan you're looking at, in the higher twos, and conventional, 3.3ish range before. I feel like that they're going to go up to about 3.75 by the middle of the year. Now, this is where I differ from a lot of people. I think we'll see a little dip. But I think at the end of the year, we'll hit that 3.75 range, and including Barry, they all believe it's going to go down to 3% again. But
really?
I don't believe that. And also, last thing I believe, and this is just me, I've done a lot of research on gross domestic product and all that stuff. I believe the stock market will drop 10% this year. So there you go. There's my predictions.
That's an alert for any of us who have money in the stock market.
Right.
I would say, William, just do one more thing. If you're concerned about locking in now, find out if you put an offer in on a house now, which would allow you to lock in the rate now, and you put an extended closing on to, say, the end of March, your first mortgage payment, Randy, based on that would be May. Am I correct? If he closed somewhere mid-March? Yeah. So that may solve the problem right there, because there is a delay. You can put an extended closing, and even you go 60 days, that's going to take you to mid-March on the closing. Hopefully that will help you. All right. So, Chuck, this one's an interesting one. Carrie is writing in. She says she owns rental property in southern Indiana, has a couple of people who are not paying their monthly rent, and attributing that to COVID. And I think we're seeing that and have been seeing that in the Louisville area as well. She's asking, can she now initiate an eviction even with COVID and the Omicron variant in play?
I cannot answer that question because you said the magic words.
Indiana.
She's in Indiana, and I'm licensed only in Kentucky.
So let us stay with Kentucky then. If that's happening to a landlord, a homeowner or rental owner in Kentucky, what are their options right now?
Yes, you can evict. There are plenty of evictions going on. It's a little messier, a lot of Zoom court dates. You sit on Zoom forever. There's a couple extra hoops you have to jump through, but it doesn't slow it down that much. It just gives your attorney
the eviction moratorium is over, correct? Is that?
Yeah, there's evictions going on.
So, Chuck, again, it can be dicey if you're going to evict a renter, both politically and physically.
Yeah.
But you do know people who do, because I don't think you go out there. Yeah. Okay.
No, I can't sit on Zoom like the courts will have. You know, you're on Zoom for 3 hours. I just can't do that anymore. But I know plenty of people that are doing evictions.
So, and
like I said, there's a few extra hoops you have to jump through. There's a couple, extra forms and certifications you have to make. But you can still evict.
We are going to give Chuck's phone number out in just a minute. So you want to grab a piece of paper and a pencil or a pen on this carry. We'll give you that number to call. Chuck can get you some information. We're going to take a break. Incidentally, you can read reviews about our team, Zillow and Google. If you want to see the Zillow reviews, just simply type into a browser LouisvilleZillow.com, or you can go to LouisvilleGoogle.com. Also, by the way, if you're not a member of my Facebook page, and I've got 2 of them out there, I don't know, Chuck, I didn't tell you and Randy this yet, but we're breaking up individual the questions and answers and putting those out on the internet as well. So if you get a chance, you'll see folks either on my Facebook page or feed or over on our YouTube channel. You can go to our Louisville Answers.com channel or LouisvilleHomesTV.com channel, and you'll see these individual answers. So on the eviction, Chuck, the goal is we'll package that and put that out there so people who have questions about it can get that answer readily. So with us on, I think it's a good concept. With us, Chuck Crosby, as I mentioned before, the Crosby Law Offices at 499-6360. Randy Rocky, who does a phenomenal job at Swan Financial, not only Randy, but as all of his people, at 645-0736. My son, Greg, who does our marketing and photography and so much more, and so proud of him. And you can reach me, Bob Sokoler, anytime on my cell phone, 376-5483. When we come back, 12 things you may not realize are annoying your neighbors. We're back in a moment on News Radio 840 WHAS. News Radio 840 WHAS, Bob Sokoler, the Louisville Real Estate Show here with you. Thank you, Barbara Corcoran, up with Shark Tank fame. If you haven't had a chance to see Shark Tank, you can see it on Channel 11 or over on CNBC. I think they do reruns as well. With us, Chuck Crosby, the Crosby Law Offices at 499-6360. Also here, Randy Rocky, Swan Financial, 645-0736. My son, Greg, does our marketing, photography, and you can reach me, Bob Sokoler, anytime at 376-5483. So what are the things that may be annoying your neighbors and you may not know about it? Almost half of Americans reported a dispute with a neighbor. That's according to a fairly recent survey by a website called findlaw.com. Chuck, does that ring a bell?
I was going to ask, Bob, is it your neighbor that did that?
Could be. No, it's findlaw.com. So here are the most common causes of conflict. Noise. A blaring speaker is just one source of pollution. Barking dogs. Okay,
Bob does say Bob's dogs. That was going to be my next thing. Yeah.
Guilty, but here's the quick thing. So I think we've got this under control. And then I have a fence that the dogs can see out to the street. Right? It's like a metal fence. So
you were proactive. You were absolutely proactive and took steps to remedy the issue.
So I bought this material now off of Amazon that as soon as it warms up a little bit, it'll go across the front of the fence, so the dogs won't see people walking along the street. They won't bark. So I know neighbors are applauding me right now. Thank you, neighbors. So also other things, pets, but specifically pet waste and smell can cause bad blood.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Playing in the street by kids can annoy some neighbors. Not everyone enjoys holiday lights, but if the electricity consumption of your light displays rivals that of a small city, that could annoy some neighbors. I don't know why, but I'm just telling you, this is the list. Farmyard fixations like chickens, cock-a-doodle-doo, that are
Your HOAs
in the morning. Too much of a good thing if you have someone in your neighborhood who walks out to get their newspapers in their bathrobe or less. That could be annoying neighbors. Emulating the Adams family is one thing, but if you fall behind on exterior and home yard maintenance, that can annoy them. Errant tree debris, in other words, down branches, things like that. Parking problems if you're parking on a neighbor's property or on their lawn. Trash talk if your trash blows inadvertently onto the neighbor's property. That's a problem.
I thought you were talking about U of L UK trash talk. Like, I'm talking trash to my neighbors who have a U of L flag outside. That's what happens.
Greg, this one might have been part of your alley a year or so ago. Controversial colors of your home or on your door.
The old turquoise house.
Turquoise. Yeah. And then disrespecting boundaries, putting things that you own on some neighbor's property. They're going to not be very happy with you. So we keep moving forward now with questions. Let's go back for Chuck. Anthony has his home on the market and wrote us about a problem he just had. He came home, found all the lights were left on during a showing. His bed was messed up. The faucet in the bathroom was left running. Is there something he can do? Does he contact the agent or agents that have shown the property?
I would contact the agents, but first I'd turn off the water. That's about the most you can do. And talk, have your agent get with the other agent. Say, hey, what's going on here? And, try and take steps to prevent it in the future, but there's really not a whole lot you can do there.
Yeah, and if there were kids running around, maybe there needs to be an apology from the other agent.
I mean, that would be nice.
Yeah.
But when you call an attorney and you say, hey, what can I do?
Yeah.
From a legal perspective, not a whole heck of a lot. You can complain, but that's about it.
That's it. Moving forward, Randy, this is for you. Patsy was told by her loan officer with an initial loan estimate that her closing costs would not exceed $5,000. But all of a sudden, she's seen documents with higher costs. There's an extra $1,000 in costs that were not on her original estimate. She says, why would the costs go up? Is her lender trying to make some extra cash off of her?
That's very possible, and it happens more than it should. I would have to look at the documentation, and she's more than welcome to send that to me, and I could advise her on it, but yes, that is possible.
Yeah, and so you want to have at least 2 or 3 estimates so that you get an idea of what the closing costs are going to be, because some build in junk fees. But it is also possible to take up for a loan officer if they had estimated, for example, insurance costs to be at one level, and the home turns out to be in a much higher insurance cost area. That could be a reason for the estimates going up, right?
Well, unless now I just put in closing costs. If it's also included in prepaids, that's a whole other can of worms. But if her closing costs change only, not the taxes and insurance, then that's where the issue comes into play.
Okay, got it. Chuck, over to you. And Greg, we can both identify with this. Sammy is written in, says, what do I do if a home seller took an item that they had promised to leave as part of the sale? And Sammy says, no, by the way, I did not have it in writing. Anything that Sammy can do? Yeah, I know.
If he didn't have it in writing, it better be less than a particular dollar amount. If it's a substantial part of the sale, it's got to be in the contract. If it's hey, here's this item under $500 or whatever that I'm going to leave, well, then, small claims court time.
So you can was it $2,400 for small claims?
23 in small claims.
$2,300. I was close. Sorry.
Yeah.
Randy, back over to you. Tony is about to buy her first home this year. She writes that she's heard that she can look at homes 4 times her annual salary. She says she only has a $300 a month car payment. So if she makes $50,000 a year, can she start looking at a $200,000 home? I think this helps all buyers who might be thinking about buying their first home. So what can they estimate in their head? I know obviously you want them to talk to a mortgage lender, but what can they estimate?
Depends on if they're going government or conventional, but it'll be between 3 and 4 times their salary. That's kind of and you got to look at what the credit score is, and there's a couple more factors in there. But yes, 3 to 4 times your salary you can is attainable as long as they don't have much other debt. But with her only having a car payment, that seems in line.
So you make a really good point, folks. Listen to what Randy said, and just to recap. So yeah, 3 to 4 times your salary. But if you're late, and if you only have a car payment, but if you're late on that car payment, making that payment, then your credit score goes down, and that could create problems for you getting your home loan, right? Mm-hmm. Got it. Chuck, yes. Back over to you. Delta sent us an email. She lived down the block from a home where someone had passed away inside. The home is now for sale, and yesterday a woman walked up to Delta and said she was thinking of buying the home. She asked how the neighborhood was and if there was anything about the home she should know. So Delta says, I didn't know what to say. And so I told her the truth. So what should she have done? So Greg, let me ask you a question. So let's start with you. You're living in your house, and someone passes away down the block, and someone comes up to you looking in the neighborhood. Hey, I'm thinking of buying this house down there. Do you know of any problems, or what would you say to the
agent or my homeowner?
You're a homeowner. You're Mr. Homeowner.
None of my business.
Well, you'd say to them, none of your business?
Me personally, if somebody came up randomly in my door and was like, "Hey, you know what I mean?" I'd be like, "I have no idea, man. You might want to look in this newspaper articles, check out the mortgage history." Ain't not my problem.
Well, I think you just gave it away, Chuck. What should a person who lives in a neighborhood say to anybody who asks?
Well, I mean, there's no set rule. If somebody comes up and asks you what you think about your neighborhood, short of defaming people, you're certainly welcome to say whatever you want. My first question would be how much you paying for the house, and if it's really good, it's great around here.
So you're raising
what are your motivations? Yeah, what kind of offer are you putting in?
Yeah, you're raising the prices of homes everywhere. That's what your goal is. I see that.
Yeah. There's no rule. There's no set rule. And like I said, as long as you're not defaming anybody, then, but go ahead and tell them what you want or don't.
And so buyers, I would tell you, this is a great question because, if you're going to move into a neighborhood, you want to know what's good, what's bad. I always suggest to buyers, listen, drive the neighborhood, especially during warmer months. Drive the neighborhood, talk to the folks who live here and see what they think about the neighborhood. But I will tell you, a couple of years ago, you guys, you may remember this question or problem we had on the air for radio, and that was the neighbors hated the seller. And so anytime that the seller had buyers over looking with a realtor, the neighbors would go out, make noise, and create problems for them, chasing away the buyers of that potential house, which was really, when you stop and think about it, that's kind of contrary to, because if you want to get rid of the neighbors, then don't do that, right? Yeah. That's crazy. All right.
Yeah, but I remember that issue. But
I remember that.
Nothing that could happen to them. Yeah.
Yeah, nothing that could happen. Yeah, that was a real life issue that we just were just shocked at that someone would do that. Randy, for you, Olivia is supposed to close on our new home next week. It's been delayed now for another 2 weeks, and this is the third time this has happened. Her mortgage company is dragging the feet. Can she sue the mortgage company? So we've seen this before where there are delays for a variety of reasons with the mortgage company. I don't see that happening with Juan, but in general, it does happen.
It's very difficult. I think Chuck can kind of hone in on this as well. It's very difficult to really get anything out of the mortgage company if you do that. You can sue anybody at any time. I just don't see any advantage in doing that. And I think it's, what do you think about that, Chuck? What's your thoughts?
Well, I mean, what do you think the causes of action here are? That's where I was going.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and
there's just so many, that opens up so many things there. I know I say that quite regularly on here, but it's very hard to prove that it's the mortgage company's fault. Which is exactly what Chuck is alluding to. I mean, it's just,
I think a lot of this sometimes, and not to put this at the feet of the loan officer, but also sometimes if the buyer is slow in getting information to a loan officer, that's going to slow everything down, up and down the block. So, folks, if you're looking to buy a house and you want to close, you got to get information to the loan officer quickly, right?
Yeah. And everything's subject to what's reasonable. I mean, just because there's one loan officer that can get this done lickety split doesn't mean another loan officer will. And you can't just say, oh, everybody has to be as good as this guy. I mean, no, that's free market. You go where they're better.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that, Greg, you can speak to this is that we work with, and you want to talk to your agent who works with people who get the job done. And I know Greg, Casey, and the rest of our team have like Randy. We love working with Randy and Swan.
There are friends, and then there are good business friends, and then there's people in between. But everyone who has a friend who does real estate and a friend who works at a bank who's got a mortgage, you need to interview multiple people and see who gets the job done the best every time. Because if you go with the person and you trust the person that does it every now and then, great, show some trust. But that's where the problems arise, is where the people don't know what they're doing. When you do your due diligence and you research and you look at the agents, you look at the loan officers, you hear the stories, you see what the proof is in the pudding. I mean,
We are out of time. A couple of quick updates. For those of you who want to sign up for our newsletter, go to we'reSellingLouisville.com. No apostrophe in where, so it's we'reSellingLouisville.com. We'reSellingLouisville.com. Also, if you want me to come out to kind of run through what the process is and set up a time to discuss that, go to LouisvilleHouseDoctors.com. Fill out our form. Yes, we make house calls, and they are free of charge. We want to thank our guests for our show today, because we really do love working with them. Randy Rocky, Swan Financial, 645-0736. Also, Chuck Crosby.
Thank you, Bob.
You bet. Crosby Law Offices at 499-6360. Thank you, Chuck. My son Greg, who does our marketing, photography, and so much more. And you can reach me anytime at 376-5483. And listen, we love to work with you. And we know there's going to be a big year for real estate. We'd love to be a part of your life and help you get it going. That's it for now, folks. Have a great Sunday. See you next Sunday right here on News Radio 840 WHAS.